Coming off her 2019 psychological horror, Saint Maud, director Rose Glass delivers another odd and twisted tale with Love Lies Bleeding. Should this neo-noir thriller be at the top of your watch list? Reclusive gym manager Lou falls hard for Jackie, an ambitious bodybuilder heading through town to Vegas in pursuit of her dream. But their love ignites violence, pulling them deep into the web of Lou's criminal family. Kristen Stewart, Katy O'Brian, Ed Harris, Dave Franco, and Jena Malone star in this violent thriller that is packed with tension and sexuality. Stewart is Lou, the gym manager with a rough family and damaged background. O'Brian is Jackie, the bodybuilder looking to win a competition in Vegas. Now, when their paths cross, an intense relationship forms, full of frenzied sex, fierce passion, and some very dark twists. The beginning of the film is more background and relationship building as we get to know the characters. We are witnessing some devastating visuals, as well as a hairdo that makes Ed Harris resemble the Crypt Keeper. But while the first act is dramatic and sexualized, the second act shifts gears into a proper violent thriller. And when I say violent, what we see is going to make you gasp and cringe. I mean, some of that is due to the physicality of the scene, but then the rest comes from the amazing practical effects and makeup. I mean, seriously, the grotesque imagery that we're shown, it is flawless and nasty. And at one point, some imagery even conjured up memories of John Astin's Judge character in The Frighteners. But this is when the story really started to click and fall into place for me. I was digging the growing relationship between Lou and Jackie. I mean, it was passionate and tumultuous, and they had some good but dysfunctional chemistry. The results of the dramatic turn crank up the dread and grittiness of the scenes. The whole film already has a sticky and grimy feel to it, with excellent aesthetics filled with lingering cigarette smoke and greasy-haired people, and my dog walking around on the floor. Now, in the second act, it's almost like a new layer of filth was overlaid, not visually, but thematically, creating dark circumstances for both Lou and Jackie. And because Jackie is a bodybuilder heading towards a competition, O'Brian is absolutely ripped for the role. Now, apparently, she was a competitive bodybuilder before acting, so she's already got a start on the physique. But the mental spiral that we watch her undergo is heartbreaking and frightening. Now, I'm not sure if this movie ever came out or if it's been shelved indefinitely, but I saw Magazine Dreams at Sundance about a year ago, and it starred Jonathan Majors as this bodybuilder. In it, we witness his character devolve into violent madness. Now, O'Brian captured some similar looks and vibes at points during this, and it was creepy and unsettling because we witnessed this disconnect in her eyes. I mean, it's not quite a psychotic break, but just a fiery intensity that makes her come across as less human. And Stewart is awesome as well in this. I mean, she's not buff or ripped, but instead sports a greasy and misshapenly cut hairdo. Now, I was enthralled with her damaged and guarded demeanor. We can tell there's been some emotional trauma at some point, and we get to witness vague flashbacks that sort of inform us of her mental state, but not fully. And I loved her grit in this performance too. She's very rough around the edges, but still has an endearing quality to her persona. Lou is somebody that we want to see succeed, but she could also be our own worst enemy. Now, I mentioned the filthy aesthetics, but the setting of rural New Mexico in the early-ish 80s introduces an economically and emotionally depressed environment that reinforces the daunting themes. While there is sort of a mystery woven throughout the thriller aspect, a few of those story elements are thinly developed and then very surface level. Take Ed Harris's character. There's a plot line that revolves around him and his business. But outside of a cursory mention and visual, we're supposed to be fully bought into what's going on with him. And this plays a large role in the narrative, but because the information is barely there, it almost feels like a distraction to the story. And then, as the film reaches its climax, there's a visual that broke me completely out of the story, distracting with just absurdity that came out of nowhere and reduced an emotionally impactful scene into one that was filled with ridiculousness. I mean, everybody in the audience laughed out loud. But not, ha 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 ha, this is great, ha ha ha, what the F? I mean, is this really happening? It literally ruined the vibe of what came before. We'd been watching a suspenseful chase with a lot of potential peril for the characters, to then land on an unfunny punchline that derailed the emotion. For an hour and 44-minute film, the pace is a gradual build that leads to frenzied mayhem. The darkness of what we watch could be off-putting, but I was engaged in this dysfunctional character study. There's a bit of codependency mixed with PTSD and passion, creating emotionally volatile conflicts that made me both nervous and engaged. Now, overall, parts of Love Lies Bleeding are executed with ferocious feeling. Some of the storylines are underdeveloped, creating scenes that are less impactful than they're meant to be. And then, while the ending stupidity ruined the intensity, Stewart and O'Brian deliver spectacular, passion-fueled performances that ride the line between obsessively psychotic and lovingly compassionate. It's mostly a good watching experience, but when it hiccups, it is detrimental. There is a lot of sex and nudity, a ton of profanity, and then a bunch of grotesque violence, including domestic abuse. I give Love Lies Bleeding 3.5 out of 5 couches. Now, this would have been better if it weren't for that stupid ending, though. So, anyways, have you seen any great thrillers lately? Let me know what you watched in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.